So as you'll see, the ITQI application is in the Great Start to Quality website on the Grants tab, just like the stabilization grants were. If you submitted an interest form, then you should have a live link under available grants. If you submitted an interest form and were not invited to apply, that could be because you screened yourself out by saying that you didn't accept subsidy children in your program, or that you weren't currently caring for infants and toddlers. Click the link. First thing you should note, because I've gotten this question a lot already, is this edit application button. You have to click it, otherwise you won't be able to edit your application. So click your edit application button and it immediately lets you start filling in some of your information. So you'll need to fill in your first and last name of the person who's submitting the application, your address, your email, a cell phone number, so it automatically will populate with your landline most likely. Make sure you include a cell phone number because, again, we are going to be using text messages as part of our outreach and our referral process. So again, text messages are important. The demographic section hasn't changed from other grants. It's the same basic, click the ones that apply for race and ethnicity and then for gender. Let's now start into some of the important stuff. So the first question that I've gotten a million times already is, when you're a home provider, how should you answer this? So I'm going to go through the questions. So as of today, how many full-time paid staff work at this license, include the owner or operator? So if you're a home provider, then, put your number in. How many of these full-time staff care for infants? So if you're a home provider and you have both infants and toddlers and, school-age children, whatever, what have you. But if you have at least one infant in your care and you are the owner, the home provider, then you would put one there as well. Same with toddler. For those of you that are at a center that has staff, then, do it based on your center staff. How many of your center staff are in infant rooms, toddler rooms, etc. Same question for part-time. How many part-time staff do you have? If you're an owner and you have no part-time staff, just put 0. Zeros again, or whatever the number applies, the applicable number is for each of these categories. So part-time staff for infants, how many part-time staff care for toddlers. Then we want to know how many staff openings do you have, how many full-time staff, how many are for infants and toddlers, how many part-time staff openings, infants and toddlers. Again, if you don't have openings, just put zeros. How many of your infants and toddlers staff have a credential in early childhood education? So that could be a CDA, that could be their associate's or a bachelor's degree, etc. So if you have staff that have received a credential, give us a number. Then we're looking at wage information. So this may take you a little bit of calculation for a center. Hopefully, if you're a home provider, it'll be easier for you. What's your hourly starting wage for a lead infant teacher and your average wage for a lead infant teacher? If you don't have lead infant teachers because you're a home provider, just put 0. Same for assistant infant teachers, your average and hourly wages. Your average and hourly wages for toddlers. For lead toddler teachers, assistant toddler teachers, again, if you don't have them, just put 0. If you do, give us the average. If you've got 5, give us what, you've got 5 and 4 of them make 15 and 1 of them makes 20, then, average it out as best you can. It's just so that we can get a sense of, where do you fall compared to the wage study that was just done? Where do you fall compared to other providers in your area? We're just trying to get a sense of how the participants in this pilot are doing. And we're also going to be able to track it then over time. So, if we ask you now, this is what you have, and then 4 months into the grant, if you've received 4 payments of the grant, has it changed? Hopefully it has. So again, same for toddlers, same for preschool, lead preschools, and assistant preschool teachers. This is one of the sections that starts to determine your grant payment amount. So the first thing that we're going to ask is that you verify your license capacity. Now, license capacity does not impact the funding formula. That said, we want to make sure that all of our databases are accurate and correct. So Please make sure that your license capacity listed is correct. So if in this case, if your license capacity is 36, then yes, you agree. If not, click you do not agree. I want to say if you reach out to the ITQI email, it will potentially speed up our ability to get through the review process. So if you disagree with your license capacity, we will be reaching out to your licensing consultant and verifying what it should be. And then we'll have to change it in the database if it's wrong. So if you email us with what your license capacity should be, make sure again include your license number. We will reach out to determine to speed that verification up. That said, do not stop your application for that. Just click you don't agree. If you click the I don't agree, when we are reviewing the applications, we will get a box to verify that we have in fact verified your disagreement, whether or not the license capacity is correct. Same for subsidy. In this case, this person had not billed subsidy in the last 3 months, so agree or disagree. If you agree with what it says, click I agree. If you disagree, then click you disagree, and we will again have a special checkbox when we're doing our verifications to make sure that we have the correct subsidy information for you. Special needs, again, are you currently caring for a child with special needs? Yes or no? Your quality level. So what is your current quality level with Great Start to Quality? There are 5 different levels. If you are unsure of what yours should be, then you should reach out to your licensing your QI consultant. But we will, if you aren't sure, you can also click yes or no if you agree. If you click no, you don't agree. Again, we will verify it before we finalize grants. Anytime you reach out to us at this email address, though, it is absolutely critical that you include your license number. We cannot verify things without the license number. Some of you have more than one license, so we can't even go by name. Some of you have names that make it really hard to look up that way. You know, there are more than one Jennifer Brown in the system. So please, 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 anytime you reach out to us, include your license number. I've had several people ask, why are we asking hours, since there isn't a part of the funding formula based on hours for this pilot. That is correct. However, we are asking hours because when you change them here, it automatically changes them in your profile. And so this is a chance for us to make sure that you have the correct hours listed for your program. Why does that matter? Again, we're trying to beef up the referral process. So if we know that you have 2 openings and you have second shift of availability, then we can bump that up in the referral process. So please make sure that your hours are accurate. But you are correct, it does not actually impact the grant award amount. This table here is the other really critical piece of information. So in this table, we're looking for all of this information, but very specifically, we are looking for the current full-time enrollment for infants and the current full-time enrollment for toddlers. Those 2 need to be filled out based on your current enrollment, what you have today or whatever day you fill out the application. You will also put in your current part-time enrollment in this column, your how many full-time and part-time openings you have, and then how many children you care for with an IFSP. For the current part-time openings, full-time openings, and IFSP, you only need to put it in this one column. Obviously, you're not going to be like, oh, I have an IFSP who for somebody who's in the early Head Start program. That we're not looking at that level of detail, but we do need to know how many infants, how many toddlers with an IFSP, your current openings, and your current enrollment is really critical. More so than how we have it by funding source. We're using the funding source. We're using the funding source to determine who's already billing for subsidy in some capacities, though. So again, please make sure this table is filled out accurately because it does impact your grant award amount. With this funding, will you have the ability to create more openings for infants and toddlers? Yes or no? If you click yes, it will open up a second box and will ask you how many. So please note, if you put whatever number you put there is going to impact your award amount, which is great, but please note that you will have to fill those slots with subsidy receiving infants and toddlers by January 10. Put it there, but we are going to verify that you actually have filled those slots. And if they're not filled by January 10th, we will stop paying that part of the award amount. So it's really, really important not only to submit this accurately, but to make sure that your documentation is loaded in the system by January 10th when we get to the reporting section. We ask if you currently have a wait list, if you currently have a GSRP program, or if you are intending to have one for this current school year, for the 2024 school year. Yes or no. And that information will get verified directly by MDE. You don't have to worry about it. Here we get to where we pay you. So something I'm sure you're very concerned about, something you really want to know about. You will need to make sure that your name is accurate based on how you file your taxes. Business name, again, if that's how you file your taxes, and the correct type of tax classification for federal taxes. The address also has to get verified, so it's really important to make sure that this information is accurate. But this is your business address, your legal business address, and then either your social security number or your EIN, depending upon, again, what kind of corporation you have. If you're a family home provider with an LLC, then it's probably your social security number. But if it's a center, or if you have a corporation designation, then you'll have an EIN. We do need one or the other in order to create the 1099 that your program will receive at the end of the tax year. Second is the information for direct deposit, so your banking information. These two sections disappear once you submit your application, so we can't edit them, we can't see them. You won't be able to see them. No one can see them. They disappear from view from everyone. And so make sure that it's accurate. And because we can't verify it for you, once we get the funding decisions done and our information sent over to our accounts payable department, you will get an email that will tell you to verify your information. Those emails, if you're awarded a grant, you will get an email starting November 27th. And you will have until December 3rd to verify your information in order to receive your check on time and your payment on time. So please do note, if you receive an award letter, that yes, you have been funded, that you, starting the 27th, because we didn't want to send it during Black Friday, so starting the 27th, that you can go in and verify your banking information directly with our accounts payable company. The attestations for this are not terribly different than they were for the stabilization grants, although there are some major differences, so I will go through those. You are still agreeing to remain in compliance with your licensing rules and CDC guidelines for childcare. You are agreeing to use the funding for costs associated with infants and toddlers receiving subsidy. So please note, these funds are only to be spent for programs in ways that support infants and toddlers receiving subsidy. The allowable expenses will be repeated in multiple places, but they basically come down to personnel costs for those who are caring for children receiving subsidy, infants and toddlers receiving subsidy, bonuses, tuition or co-payment relief for families, for those families of infants and toddlers receiving subsidies. So I've had several people ask, with this money for the parents that don't have a copay, can I use this for other families? No, it's only for parents who receive subsidy. It's only for subsidy eligible infants and toddlers. Minor facility improvements for this is specifically facility improvements that are minor renovations, so they can't change your square footage, they can't significantly repurpose space, etc. That would increase the number of infant and toddler slots that you can fill with subsidy receiving families. So things like adding a second hand washing station in a toddler room, or purchasing cribs for an infant room, things like that. And then, of course, the administrative or management costs for the pilot. So things like, paying an accountant to do your monthly reports, things like of that nature. Note that these funds are taxable. You will receive a 1099 form for the funds, and that all funds have to be spent by September 30th, 2024. You must maintain documentation for 4 years. We will have an audit and a review process of us that we will have to show how we monitored your use of the grant dollars. So we will be asking for, at least for some programs, to show documentation, additional documentation. So please do hold on to your documentation. You are more than welcome to load it before it's asked of you. Just like with the stabilization grants, everyone who is awarded the grant will have a documentation tab where they can go ahead and load receipts as they get them, so they don't have to worry about losing things. But they are not going to be required of everyone, other than if you claim an IFSP or if you claim that you're going to expand slots. If your program closes, it's really important that you notify us right away. We will stop paying you when we see that your program has closed. We will be running a report to check for program closures before we issue payments. So if your program closes, you need to let us know. All money has to be spent before the closure date. So what my recommendation would be is, if you're a center that has staff and you're closing, that you pay out bonuses to your staff as you're closing your program. If you're a home provider, you would need to probably claim it as salary for yourself or for legal employees. I do want to emphasize that if your program closes, but if your license closes, but your program doesn't. So for example, if you do what we're really hoping, right, and go from a DF to a DG license and increase your license capacity, but you're on a new license number now, we will have some back end work to do so that you can continue to receive payments on the new license and complete your reports in a timely manner. So it behooves you to tell us as soon as possible that your license is closing. If you agree to all of that, you will complete and submit your application by clicking the Submit Application. So if you save it, saving's great. I recommend you save it. But at the end of the day, you have to hit the Submit Application button no later than 6 p.m. Eastern Time on November 17th. If you have any questions, please reach out to us at this grant email, itqigrants@ecicforkids.org. Make sure if you contact us that you include your license number. Otherwise, it's going to slow down our response time because we're going to have to ask you for that before we can do anything else. And we look forward to working with you. So if you have any questions, please do reach out. Thanks and have a great day.